So, what would you say to a dad that recognizes athletic ability, but perhaps, the dad doesn't understand how to judge that ability? What would you recommend that parent do to maybe assess, whether my kid has got the ability that I think he has? What would be some steps or some ideas that I would give a dad to assess the child's abilities?
How do you know he's special?
Yeah, how do you know he's special?
Well,
Because every patient deserves more than just a patch. They deserve a chance to recover.
Rolling. Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Eclipse Unscripted. I am your host, Dr. Leek. And as many of you know, we are very passionate about pain and recovery. And when we define pain, it is, of course, a sensory and emotional experience. But we're also passionate about sports and rehabilitation. And so today's kind of a special episode, actually, focusing really on the world of sports and rehabilitation and the sensory or physical and emotional needs of our athletes, and in this case, parents that help bring up these athletes through childhood. We have a very special guest today. To give you a little bit of background, he has a bachelor's of science in psychology and human behavior from the University of Arizona. He has experience in youth and family counseling. He's played baseball and basketball at high levels. He's coached and been the personal instructor for athletes at various levels. And he's actually consulted for many different baseball organizations with regard to the development of training programs, organizational strategies, and organizational development. So we're very pleased to have him here today. Of course, he knows our friend Jose, who is our Director of Rehabilitation here at Sports and Rehabilitation. Jose, who did you bring here today to join us?
Well, today I have a dear friend of mine, Howie Kinsler. He's a...
great. That's Howard.
Oh, you like Howard?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's go, Howard. All right. A dear friend of mine, Howard Kinsler. Good friend. One of the things that I'm very passionate about is youth athletes. And one of the things that I feel like is very important is the role of the parent in the development of the young athlete. And Howard is a good friend of mine that, he also happens to be Ian Kinsler's dad, 14-year Major League Baseball player. And so, the reason we wanted to have him on the show is I want him to discuss his experience as a father, as a coach, as a mentor, and discuss how important the role of a parent is to the development of the athlete. So, Howie, what do you think?
Well, clearly that's the closest relationship that is had in the process of raising an athlete is the parents. Because it starts very young and goes on till the athlete starts to mature and kind of live their own life. So it's more of a parent-child relationship, but understanding what your child's specialty is. I tell parents that if your child was an excellent drawer, artist, or played the piano exceptionally well, wouldn't you focus your energies on that? Well, it's the same thing if you're an athlete trying to be an athlete and or being introduced to being an athlete. There's a lot that goes into that. A piano teacher should say, I'll be here 3 times a week or 2 hours each time because you're good. And I think parents sometimes miss that of what it really takes to be something special, even when you're not special, because there's an enormous amount of kids that wish they could play baseball that have really little skill at all. So to begin with, you're kind of special as a child when you're playing youth sports. So, it's a process that goes on for years, and hopefully you're able to be patient through that process and not push kids into heavy workouts or playing 6 games a day or practicing, daily. And if you don't know that child, then maybe you're pushing them too hard, or maybe you're not pushing them enough. So that relationship is very important for the parent to have, especially in the young ages.
So you mentioned recognizing talent, recognizing the child's ability to do a certain something. So what would you say to a dad that recognizes athletic ability, but perhaps, the dad doesn't understand how to judge that ability? What would you recommend that parent do to maybe assess, whether my kid has got the ability that I think he has? What would be some steps or some ideas that I would give a dad to assess the child's abilities?
How do you know he's special?
Yeah, how do you know he's special?
Well, I like, as we spoke earlier before we started the podcast, is understanding the process of age, what is learned, how it's learned. That's my education. It's a BS in education. And so if you're dealing with an 8 or 9-year-old emotionally, physically, all the things that make him special, he's at a certain level. And if you're not aware of the level he's at as a parent, then you can either push him too hard or have different expectations that you shouldn't have. And expectations is a crusher, because we all have expectations. And how many times would you say expectations are met? You can come close, but I think it's a society, and in our culture, that sports is premier. If you can play sports, it is special. I don't care how old you are. So knowing the whole societal thing, and this is what parents don't know, it's just living day to day.
Mm-hmm.
So when I do seminars, I want you to know how you can help. And the whole environment is got to be adjustable to the kid. It's got to be how he is physically. Some kids grow faster. Some kids mentally mature faster. All of those things going into a youth athlete starting, say, at 9 or 10 have yet to be developed. And yet your expectation is you're special, you're good, you should be playing with these kids. So the challenges that happen, they become aware of the differences as the kid grows. Also, it's more of something is going to make you think about where your kid places with everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes it's a brutal awareness. It's not good to hear you didn't make the team.
Mm-hmm.
When your whole effort was to get them to play high school baseball.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So there's so much that goes into it that we could do part 2, 3, 4, and 5. We could do it all today if you'd like.
Just a thought on that. Like, first thing comes to mind. So, kind of take us back to when Ian was 10 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe talk us through what you thought then, what you thought in middle school, high school. Just you went through that. You
Yeah.
saw your son come from different steps, different levels, and now looking back, 14 years in the big leagues. So give us a little bit of that process and how you went through it. What things were intentional, what things were just things that happened. Just give us a little background on that.
For being a fairly high intensity kind of guy and having played athletics, I had a pretty good idea what a skill level was at 3. I mean, we can get,
Yeah.
as soon as he was born, I said, wow, look at his feet. He's going to be an athlete. But at 3 years old, I can say this kid is doing something that other kids cannot do, period. Whether it's piano, all of those things. Well, I happen to be familiar with sports and athletics. So at 3, when I threw a ball up in the air and he caught it, I was astonished. I was like, wow, it's only 3. I said, watch this, Ian, catch this one. And I threw it higher. And he caught it. I said, okay, I guess I know what I'm going to be doing with my spare time. And having played ball and been around athletes my whole life and understanding the process a little bit, I just was gung ho. Now, that's rare. There's, again, it's a cultural, societal thing about sports. But the weird thing is, very low percentage of people really know what it takes or what it is in talent that you have to achieve. I use an example of a baseball stadium sits 40,000 people, let's say. How many of those 40,000 people do you think have the experience to instruct a kid on how to hit a baseball?
Yeah, very few.
Very few.
Most of them think they do.
There you go. So when you put something in there that they think they know on top of the expectations that you have, and now this cycle of being the parent that thinks his kid is better than others, which is normal, you become immune to what really is. You don't pay attention to what really is happening with competition, how big he's getting, what kind of conversations you're having with him. I mean, it can get very, very deep. So your question, and to be honest, is I spent a lot of time psychologically building him up and telling him what he has and doing this kind of conversation with the kid at his level. That was my thing. That's why we're sitting here today. It's just a joy for me to, I guess, calling it help, but to give another side, another perspective of what you're getting from the environment you're in. Because all the other parents think their kids are best too. So who are they talking to? Other parents that think that, and so sometimes it just takes looking into the forest to be able to say, look at that. That's not right. Kind of my mission, someone said, you got to help people with this. And that's what we've talked about a lot is how do we do that? It's maybe unachievable. Who knows? But it's something that someone will pay attention to because you've got to go with the percentages that there's going to be a small group of people that buy in. Well, that just means they'll tell people to buy in. And things grow like that. Obviously, word of mouth, like in business. So it's enjoyable, it's passionate, it hits home. Going through the whole process with my son educated me more than I was educated. So a lot of learning going on in my little village of him and I, and then you throw in the rest of your family. It's a lot. It's a lot. So that's what I would say is just know who your kid is personality wise, kind of pressure he likes or doesn't like. And don't even worry about the skill because you probably don't know.
Hmm.
You know, and what I talk about is your relationship with your child. That's what your job is to develop a relationship so that it's easier for him to talk, to share, to let out anger, to let out happiness. That's the parent's job. Don't worry, parents. He's being evaluated by everybody else. So if your kid's really good, there's someone going to say, this kid's playing high school ball. So don't worry about that, how good he is part. In general, it's you have no control. Someone will see if he's good.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. So like one of the things that I I look for when it comes to player development, when I work with kids, when I work with players, one of the things that over the 22 years that I did in the big leagues, I always asked the players about their relationship with their dad, their family background, how they grew up. Um, over the years, I learned how important that relationship was to their development. I worked with players that even at the major league level were getting texts from their dad that, hey, you swung at that pitch last night, that sucked. And the players sitting there complaining to me about their dad. This is a grown man complaining about their dad. But then I also had players like Ian who would always be making comments. Oh, my dad taught me this. Oh, I did this with my dad when I was a kid. Or one of the things I was always curious about Ian, why he set up on the plate so close to home plate, and he would get hit often. And because he would get him on
Right.
top of the plate just so he can pull the ball.
Just for the record, I
Yeah.
didn't tell him to do that.
No, but he did tell me like
I don't like him getting hit.
no, but he did tell me he did tell me like like my dad taught me how to get out of the way, so I'm not afraid of the ball inside. And I'm like, oh, cool, like so little things like that from him and from other guys.
That's a great point because when we talk about the process,
Mm-hmm.
if he's 8 years old and learns how to get out of the way of the ball, when he's 15 years old, he'll probably be better at it.
Yeah.
Because really it's all about repetitions and practicing it. And I know I could fix a lot of things at my house, but they're not right. I got to call somebody that knows what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
But I could do it. And then I have to sit on the couch with my wife,
Mm-hmm.
her tell me how I screwed it up. But I did it.
Yeah. But for example, getting hit by a pitch. Hitting is an act of that ball is coming at me, so it could hit me. So you have to be unafraid, and you got to stay in there so you can hit a baseball, whatever level it is, whether you're a little kid or a major leaguer. There's still a fear of getting hit. I personally know even my nephew, he quit baseball because he got hit in the back and he never did it again. I know many friends of mine that their kids got hit by a pitch and they just never wanted to do it again. So the simple fact that at a young age he was taught how to get out of the way of a pitch, it teaches him not to be afraid of the ball, and then it develops that courage to stay in there with certain pitches that are tough, and then now you become a better hitter because you're not afraid of the ball anymore.
Was he ever hit?
A lot.
Are you serious?
He
You played 14 years.
got hit a lot.
So that's my point,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
right? Like you've developed in him a resiliency
Well, that's the other page.
beyond
Mhm.
just lack of fear.
Yeah.
Right. When you go through the pages of life, it's all a process. What else does he have to help him get over the fear?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What has he heard? What does he see? How do you react to it? Are you telling your kid don't cry and his bones are coming out of his arm?
Mm-hmm.
All of that stuff that people generally on their day-to-day routine don't consider impactful. when in fact, we don't really give our kids enough credit about how much they know.
Mhm.
And that it is important to understand who your child is. It's hard because you're busy at work and your wife's busy at work, and then you're both coming home and doing. But there's always moments, because that's all it is. We don't really understand how little a moment it takes to have an impact. Because we all could sit here today thinking of things growing up that like it was yesterday.
Mhm.
So that had an impact on us. So when you realize as a parent the impact you have and when you have it or have the opportunity to make an impact, that's all part of parenting. And when I would do the family stuff, it's hard for people to grasp it, one, and it's really hard for them to perform it. Because anybody could tell you how to raise a kid. You know, who are they? What do they know? You know, when you're the parent, nothing makes sense to what was told to me. You know, um, when you're in the mix, when you're at the plate, when you're thinking of going first to third, you're in the mix. What are you going to do at that moment? So all the building of confidence and fears, failure, all that stuff. Um, Learning how to overcome and manage it. It's not overcoming it. It's really managing it. Balance. We all need balance, even if you're 8. And when you don't have a balance, whether that's a parent yelling at you or the ride home and throws off your balance for a while, that's what slows the process down.
Mhm.
So it's important to know the situation, the kid, all those things. We could sit here for days.
Well, you mentioned something that gave me another thought: overcoming versus managing
Mm-hmm.
the failure. Uh, Bad game, struck out 4 times. You know, it feels like crap. Obviously, anybody that's played baseball, you know that doesn't feel good. You said there's a difference between overcoming it and managing it, because I feel like everybody that's a competitor, when they fail and they have a bad game, they're gonna be mad. They're gonna be upset, and they're gonna have a bad moment. But you know, what's the in your opinion, your words, what's the difference between overcoming and managing? 'Cause I like the idea of managing, but give me your thoughts on that.
No, overcoming is near impossible because I don't think anyone really overcomes
Yeah,
whatever.
I agree.
It's what you do with the failures, what you do with the good parts, what you do with the win, with the loss, with the 4 for 4, with the
Mhm.
0 for 4. You're not going to overcome it because the stimuli keeps happening. So how can you overcome going 0 for 4 when the next night you go 0 for 4 again? So the balance is being shifted now. So I would argue with my son about how much the game is mental. And you hear that often on TV from announcers that the mental part is so important. But there's no one's addressing it. Like, how do we deal with it? They don't really, it doesn't impact the bottom line. So why would I spend money on that or time on that?
Well, another thing about mental training, when it comes to mental training in baseball or sport, it's so ill-defined. So
Mhm.
many people call it different things, and you know, and I go back to the idea of overcoming versus management. No one really gets over bad games. I just think that you got to manage your emotions so you don't go home and do something stupid at home with your wife or kids or whatever. Uh, but you also have to manage, I think you have to manage your emotions so that you stay so calm enough to analyze the game. So, okay, so I struck out 4 times. What exactly did I do? Did I see the ball and missed it? Was I out in front? Was I late? Was it, you know, Was the picture that good? Like if you manage your emotions, then you have the mental capacity to analyze what happened, and then perhaps you can correct the situation, and the
Right.
next game you do a little better. But if you just let it go and thinking that you're going to overcome your feelings, then you don't. Um,
It's impossible.
it's impossible. Then you just tack today on to tomorrow, and the next thing you know, you're 0 for 20. So I like the idea of overcoming versus management. I think you have to manage your emotions
Right.
so that you can figure out what to do next.
Right. And related to sports,
Yeah.
and it's not just sports. When I work with kids or players that are older, um, how about when you were a kid and you cleaned your room and your mother didn't yell at you today? Or how about when you clean your room and your parents ask you to clean it better? You don't know what they're talking about. What's wrong with how I cleaned it? So now the balance starts getting off. And if you don't understand what a good room looks like, what your parents' expectations are, what you're willing to put into it, all these things help them make that decision. And they've learned it from you, the parent. So there's only two things that impact the personality, and that's the parents, is the DNA, and environment. There's really not much else. So, what kind of environment do you set up for yourself to succeed in athletics? If you know you're intense, then why aren't you either managing it or learning how to use your intensity to get better? There's different approaches to all of it. So it's really a relationship again with the individual, hoping to trust who's talking to them, i.e. dad and mom, and their willingness to carry it out. So it's very difficult to succeed at it, overcome it, but it's life, and if you can manage it and balance it, you get out with less bruises. You're going to go over speed bumps, trust me. Just learn that there's speed bumps and go slower when you come to a speed bump, and your car won't break down. I use those analogies with kids. Like if you know there's a speed bump and you drove to school and you went over the speed bump at the right speed. At the end of school, you were so happy to get out of school, you went flying over that speed bump. You didn't manage the situation. So it's the same for sports. There's so much distraction. Can you manage it? Can you balance it? Because that's the mental part that will make you better if you have the skill level. It just adds for consistency.
I think you mentioned earlier that life is a pro sport, essentially. And I really like that concept because what we're talking about here, I'm seeing so much overlap in my pain patients.
Very good.
Right? And it does come down to, for so many people, the relationship they have with their father, with their mother when they were children, the expectations that were put on them, the communication or lack of communication, and the trauma that may occur that sets these people up for either success or failure, whether it's succeeding in professional sports or succeeding in their health and life in general, or being stuck with chronic pain. There's so much overlap with that. And that's why I love this theme, because you're right, the parent plays such a huge role in how we grow up, whether it's as athletes or just human beings.
Yeah. Well, one thing too, like made me think about this phrase is if you're looking for perfection, you're always going to fail. But if you just focus on progress, then you'll keep going. And I think whether it's life, sport, pain management, the very, very, very few days that you would consider perfect. Yeah, there's some happy days in life and stuff like that, but nothing's ever perfect. But as long as you're making progress, I feel like it keeps you going, and then you enjoy life or enjoy whatever it is that you're into, as long as you're making progress. And that's one of the things that I always try to tell my son is like, as long as you're making progress, man, we're doing good. and so that always keeps him in a good frame of mind. Uh, Again, I've been blessed for, I've had conversations with guys like this for many years, and I've learned a lot about how to talk to my son when it
You
comes
know,
to
I
sport.
remember the time you texted me and said, "Could we meet at
Yeah,
what was it?
I think it was a BFF or
Payway.
I don't know, Payway. That's right. Yeah, because you liked
You
it.
meet me in Payway?
Yeah.
I mean, what?"
Well, yeah, we're like, okay, so
And his first question was, "Okay, how do I deal with this?"
yeah,
The thing he's talking about.
exactly.
And that's Jose, because he says it all the time. I know people because I need to learn. I'm always needing to learn, and you should be wanting to learn, and no matter what age.
Yeah,
I don't want to learn very much because I'm older, but I still want to learn. The thing is, I've learned everything.
Yeah.
You know, it's your experiences are so wide, and then if you sit back and review your life, you kind of understand, man, I can't believe I got out of that. I can't believe I succeeded in college and no one thought I would go to college. That kind of thing. So it's interesting. The mind, the personality of people is just, to me, is like, I love it.
yeah. Well, kind of to follow up, I want to tell that story because, you know, like you said, I'm always learning. I like to learn. I'll learn from anyone, no matter what age or whatever topic I'm interested. I want to learn, and I've never been afraid to make a fool out of myself. So sometimes I want to learn things that maybe may sound silly to someone, but to me it was important. My son was 7 years old, and because I was in baseball, everyone kept asking me, "Are you going to put your son in baseball?" Baseball, I'm like, "No, not if he wants to, not unless he wants to play." And then, um, I thought, I want to ask Howard, like, I want to, pick his brain, how he, dealt with Ian, and when he was growing up, what kind of things he did on purpose, what kind of things he just let happen. And I mean, I remember to this day, first thing he said, the most important thing you need to be doing right now is just playing catch in the front yard. Teach him how to catch the ball, how to play catch properly. And that's what we did. My son and I would play catch in the front yard, learn how to grip the ball, learn how to use his glove side, learn how to use his legs the right way, and there we went. He We didn't play organized ball until about 9. So for 2 years, I just spent, playing catch with him, hitting batting, doing batting practice and little things. I spent time teaching him the little things that I now looking back, I know he wasn't going to be taught at these schools and all these places where they play nowadays.
So now, just keep it, all of us as parents need to keep that in perspective, that he had a father that was able to do that and have the time to do that. Probably 75% of the kids' parents don't. They don't have the knowledge, the time, the energy, etc. So that's the fortunate part of being able to do that with your kid. But when you can't do that with your kid, it's really trying to find someone that you trust as a parent, and then as the player trusts as an instructor. Not to advertise her hitting lessons,
Jose.
fielding lessons,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
at some point, if they're at a level and trying to get to a level that's beyond yours, then it's time to hand over the reins and allow him to be an artist and a piano player with somebody that knows what they're doing. Trouble with baseball is that everybody thinks they know what they're doing. I mean, I did. No, I'm just, but and so you get caught up in that. You go to games.
Yeah.
You're a fan. I wear a jersey. Yeah, look, I'm a Ranger fan. Can teach your kid how to hit and field, because I saw him the other day and he's pretty good. And it doesn't look like you're able to meet the needed requirements to get them better. And that's why everybody does lessons. And the problem that occurs with lessons is people are doing that as a side job and or for revenue, and they're really not as good of an instructor with the 8th kid of the day versus the first kid of the day. So that was my driving force, was that I didn't have to do it to pay my mortgage. I did it because I loved it. So what the kids got was it. I mean, this is just me, and this is what I know, and if you trust me, look, you can listen. If you trust me a little bit, listen a little bit. But you'll get something to take away from your life as you grow up as a kid, of the people that you met. And that's what I want, is so that when that 9-year-old kid is going to high school, I have somewhere to go on weeknights. I can go watch him play. That's my joy. So it's a circle. It's a vicious cycle. It doesn't end. It's just great.
Going back to assessing your child and being realistic, my opinion has always been, whenever I sign up my son for a league, I compare it to his peers. So if he's hanging and he's performing at that level with that group, then okay, he must be okay. And if he succeeds at that level, then I'll try and put him at a higher level. But I still run into parents that the kid cannot play at whatever level they're in, and then they're still worried about whether the kid is good or not.
This is what I love about Jose, because I can now be honest. Because I can be honest with Jose, because he wants to learn and he wants to hear other opinions. What you're talking is a person that has experience playing a high-level baseball.
Well, I just want to throw it out there so they can think about it. I want them to think about stuff like that.
You can't make someone who hasn't been there be there. So you got to get to them at their level to understand why this is happening.
Yeah.
So that's the hard part for people that know, get frustrated with the people that think they know and the people that don't know but say they know.
So one time, my son, his name is Ezra. Ezra, if you're watching, hello.
Nice to meet you.
So he's 8 years old, and he hit a home run a year ago in his little peewee league. And I thought he was the best one on the team.
Wait a minute, you're going back a year ago for an 8-year-old? Wow.
Yeah, well, they had very little kids on the team.
Right.
So my impression is, oh yeah, he's the best one.
Of course.
That's all I know. So how do I know? Because he's the kind of guy that he finds something that he's interested in, and he practices and practices and practices, and then he goes on to a new sport like ping pong or soccer, and he's really driven for a period of time. I guess that would be a good sign. How do I know how to develop that in a way that would be healthy for him to find his pursuits?
I think it's buried in him right now. He's 8 years old, so it hasn't hit him in the face yet to say, I think I really love soccer. He's still growing. He's still processing what's what with soccer and baseball. And let's see, I got hit by a ball, that hurt. That kid in soccer tripped me, but it didn't hurt that bad. Maybe I'll play soccer. And you need to read those signs, because he'll let you know what his favorite sport is. You could think he's the best at all of them. It doesn't matter. He's going to rise to where he will rise to because he's motivated. So not every player in the big leagues had parents that knew baseball. It's rare, right? I mean, look how rare the big leagues are. 700 players. There's more doctors that care about pain management than there are Major League Baseball players.
It's 2,200
See?
pain doctors. Yeah.
There you go.
Mhm.
So that's our culture again. It's like once your kid can catch, he's the best. You just told me your son hit a home run.
Exactly.
Well, I've been around long enough to know or see. I've seen scouts and players and people that do know baseball. A kid hits a home run in high school, and they're like, "Wow, did you see that?" And I'm like, "Did you know he struck out 4 times before that?"
I didn't remember that part. Yeah.
And because it's easy to be
Yeah.
just impressed when you're looking at a baseball player in high school and you're a college recruiter and he's struck out 3 times, but then he hit a home run. Now, depending on the recruiter or how they see the life of the baseball player, will determine a lot. But we all are different. You know, we all have a different perspective of everything. I'm exhausted. This feels like an intervention.
It is.
Your son hit a home run. He had a catch with his kid. He showed him, man, oh my God.
Yeah.
You guys want to start a father's group?
Yeah,
Sounds like a good idea.
that's like a good idea.
I've tried to get that going because it's needed.
Well, you know, but as far as, you know, what you said about Ezra, a lot of players that I worked with were the type of people that were just not satisfied, and then whatever they got their mind into, they did it to a certain level. And as they got older, they just started weeding out the things that they just didn't have interest in. But most of them had that inner drive. That stuff is not taught. That's another one of my issues. Like, whether you're competitive or can you teach competitiveness? That's another thing for a different time. But like drive,
Yes.
I think
You
some
know,
kids just have that.
Right.
That's an athlete. I say this to people all the time. If you want to get better at hitting, and you can hit, if you're a true athlete, you should want to get better. Or you should want to go hit again because you love it. So what level of athlete are you? Where are you on the range that can create the athlete or not create the athlete? You know, there's a big range. Some kids are just gung-ho, and some kids are like good enough to not do anything.
Yep.
So it all comes out in the wash. Your kid will play something and do something that he loves. Period. He might even be into pain management because, you know, he sees guys getting hurt. Who knows? He's got so much stimuli coming in.
You know, and
He's smarter than you think. I'll say that. I think all these kids are smarter than we think.
So what you're saying is I should not force him to live out my unrealized dreams for myself. Correct.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Being nice about it. You're right. It's interesting driving in a car with a kid, my son, at spring training when he first started his professional career. And he said, "Dad, so what do you think?" You never told me, like, what do you think about me playing professional baseball? And I said, well, I'm just going to simply put it like this. You have fulfilled every ego need that a father has about his kids in sports. What else could I ask for? I'm the dad that's saying my kid's good, and he is. So he fulfilled that need. How often that happens? I would say rarely. So that blessed, fortunate part of everything went right, he was one of those chosen.
Yeah. But everybody wants to be chosen.
We all are chosen.
Well, having said that, I think everyone is chosen for something. The challenge is to find that.
Right.
And so I think that the one takeaway for this type of talk is that every one of us is special in one way or another. Everyone has talents and gifts and stuff like that. And I think the role of the parent is to try to help that child identify what are they really good at, and in a best possible way, guide that talent, guide that drive, guide that aptitude for certain things, and be able to manage that with them and walk alongside them, because I think that is very important for a parent to, instead of worrying about whether the kid is a good hitter, how about you focusing on the fact that he doesn't give up. He didn't get a hit, but then he comes home and he's hitting at a cage extra. Or, he gets a bad grade and he's so mad that he goes to not the library. Nobody goes to the library, but
Hey.
to AI.
AI.
And then he does it again because he wants to get better. And so instead of saying, you're a good athlete, but I admire your resilience. I admire the reason the way you go about your work, how responsible you are, how accountable you are. Those are the things that translate on everything, every area of life. And so, like, however that plays out for them in whatever activity, point that out, because if they realize I'm responsible, I'm hardworking, I don't give up, I can use that for everything, and then they will find what they're good at, because it's not the activity, it's more of the qualities of the individual that's going to make you successful. And so, that's the thing. That's where everyone is chosen. Everyone has gifts. It's just that sometimes they're putting their effort and focusing on the wrong things. And as a parent, I think it's our role to try to help the child to find that. So
That's
Well
if
said.
you're interested in doing it. There's degrees of how to do it, when to do it, why to do it. That's the general summation of the parent's role. But depending on all those other things like work and time and all that,
mhm.
sometimes they can't enhance anything. So it really falls on a lot of natural ability and willingness to learn by yourself. I mean, like I said, I don't think every Major League Baseball player's parent was a high level skilled individual. There's very few of them walking around on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so again, back to your kids and the things you tell parents about how to, when to, why to. I just sum it up with trust me, your child knows more than you think. He knows exactly where he fits, probably at 10 years old. He's starting to get an idea what sport he's gravitating to and what sport is. I'm not going to get what I need to get with this guy. They're too big.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can get, I think, parents to believe that your child knows more than you think. Because did you talk to your parents about all the things you thought about? If I can ask a personal question.
Yeah. I'm sure that there was more going on than they knew about.
Okay.
Certainly.
Thank you. Perfect summation.
Mm-hmm.
Once you give your child credit for
Mm-hmm.
knowing more than you think they do, because they too are out in the world.
My mom's going to call me now. What do you mean? What was going on that I didn't know about?
Is your mom listening? I'm sorry. Wow. Your son is a great.
Oh,
great
there you go.
kid.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Um,
But yeah, no, I see what you're saying. And there's a lot going on up there that, a child won't share
Mm-hmm.
or doesn't feel the need to share. It's just how they're developing and growing,
It's
perceiving
all
the
the
world.
above.
Yeah.
Yep.
Most of the time, it's all the above. Just
Mhm.
trust. You got to start with generalities. Your child knows more than you think, and then you get into more detail as you move along.
Mhm.
2 or 3 things that you would tell any dad, any parent how do I help my kid become a better athlete, better person, better whatever. So
Well, we'll keep it at sports.
yeah, let's keep it at sports.
Athleticism versus athletics, two different things. But when your child is participating in athletics, I would sit as far away from the action as you can get and still watch. In general, I've done lessons with kids and go to watch them play, and I've had to tell dads, you need to sit in the outfield. You can't be talking to them like that during the games in high school. And I'll end with one final story with my son in high school. And I was sitting where the dads sit with their feet up on the fence behind home plate. I was pretty quiet, but my son was on deck. And I said, remember your hands. Don't forget using your hands. And he turned around and looked at me and said, Dad, I'm trying to play a game. Would you stop talking to me? I was in the outfield in a matter of minutes. And he put me there. So he knew more than I thought on how to help himself. Dad, I'm trying to play a game. And that, the way he said it it's clear. This guy is motivated. I felt it. It was like, shit, shoot, you better edit that one. I think I better go sit in the outfield.
Mm-hmm.
How much that helped the relationship? I don't know. But I'd like to say it did.
Give them space to develop.
Give them space, give yourself space.
Mm-hmm.
Pull yourself away from the middle of the game. Not worry about the umpire. Because you can't see, you're sitting in the outfield. You don't know what the strike was or not. You're 600 feet away.
Yeah.
So you pull yourself away a little bit. And you're not sitting next to other parents.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right.
So hopefully this podcast, at the next tournament we go to, we'll see parents all sitting in the outfield behind the fence.
Yeah. Well, not to be, Tommy Topper, but like I did have a situation like this, and I want to share it just because it's just as funny as his. So my son was playing. He had I'm not saying I can't remember if the first day he had a bad day or good day. I don't know. But the next day I'm driving him to the field, and we always talk about the game before and after. He likes to talk. And he goes, Dad, I know this is going to sound bad, but could you not talk to me while I'm hitting? I said, your accent just comes through and I can hear you. Yeah. And I'm like, and at first it kind of shocked me, and I said, you know what? That is so awesome. Because number one, I've taught you how to express what you're thinking. Tell me what you like and don't like when I coach you and don't coach you. But this is awesome. And I celebrated that moment with him. And he was so happy because the way he worded it, he's like, I know this is going to sound bad, Dad, but
Shut up.
He didn't want to be rude. And so, but from now on, I never talk to him when he's hitting unless he asks or he looks at me for some kind of acknowledgement. Now I'm coaching him, so I do have to talk to him. But
I decided to coach.
So I decided to get in there. But no, but even now when he's hitting, I don't say anything to him. Mm-hmm. I talk to him about the pitcher, or something like that, but I don't coach him during the game. And so like I learned that he doesn't like me to yell at him or talk to him because my accent comes through. So, similar story. And my son and I have a great relationship in baseball, but I think it's moments like that, I think it's a good message for parents. Is like sometimes your kids don't want to be yelled at. Just leave them alone. Maybe talk to them after the game, if they want to. Because some kids don't want to. So just food for thought. I mean, it's not a perfect science. This is my experience. This is his experience. I'm a little bit further away than him. He's already been through it. I don't know what mine's going to be like, but I'm enjoying it. And because of guys like him and his stories, now I got stuff to look forward to and stuff to draw back from. So, I love youth sports. I love baseball. And, I hope that I make the game better, and I make the game better for the parents and for the kids from some of this information we shared today.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I think it's very exciting to see people grow and develop into who they were meant to be. Whether you're a child or a developing athlete or even an adult, it's never too late to find out who you are and who you were meant to be on this planet.
Process, remember. Your whole life's a process. There's different pages, different chapters, different, glossaries and all the other stuff. But it's all a process. You're going to know more in 10 years than you do now because you have experience doing things.
Mhm.
Well, he's done developing, but I'm not. I'm still good. I still want to develop.
Me too.
I'm close. I'm close to not. It's interesting you said that, Jose.
I just
I think about that when I wake up every morning.
just put that in your mirror.
Yeah, I'm like,
Done developing.
do I want to listen to anyone today?
Yeah.
The answer is usually no,
Yeah. All right.
unless my wife tells me
Well, I was going to say, there's one person.
to do something wrong.
hmm There's only one.
Well, thank you for being here today.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Jose, always a pleasure.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. I enjoyed it.
All right. Until next time.
Yeah.
Take care.